Florida! Thank you to Congressman Jeff Miller, Chairman Jeff Miller. 15 years of principled conservative leadership in Washington, D.C. We just couldn't be more grateful. Give him and Vicky a huge round of applause, would you please? They are amazing people. I'm Mike Pence. I'm from Indiana. And it's amazing for me to think, with my wife Karen and my family at my side, just a little more than 3 months ago, I accepted my party's nomination to run and serve as the next Vice President of the United States of America. And we are just 2 days away from a great victory all across the state of Florida and all across the United States of America. You know, I got to tell you, I appreciate Jeff's introduction, his kind words. I'm very humbled by it. But he knows me well enough to know the introduction I prefer is a little bit shorter. I'm a Christian, a conservative, and a Republican, in that order. And I have to tell you, I joined this campaign in a heartbeat because you have nominated a man for president who never quits. He's doing 5 rallies today, 5 rallies tomorrow, sprinting all the way to the finish. He never quits. He never backs down. He's a fighter. He's a winner. And until very recently, it seemed like he was out there fighting all on his own. But now this movement is coming together. Florida is coming together. America's coming together. We're going to make Donald Trump the next president of the United States of America. You know, I truly do believe my running mate, Donald Trump, literally embodies the American spirit. Strong, freedom-loving, independent, and willing to fight every single day for what he believes in, and he's going to fight all the way to the White House come this next Tuesday. You sure saw that in all those presidential debates, didn't you? I was there in Las Vegas when he beat Hillary Clinton hands down in that debate. You know, we had a little debate of our own up in Farmville, Virginia, in the vice presidential race the other day. I want to apologize. We're running a few minutes late. We stopped to get some coffee, and Senator Tim Kaine called and interrupted me 10 times. So, thanks for getting that joke. The truth is, some people think I won that debate in Farmville, Virginia, and I'm very humbled by that. Very humble, thank you. But I'll tell you what, from where I was sitting, Donald Trump won that debate. Donald Trump's brand of leadership won that debate, and Donald Trump's vision to make America great again is going to win all the way to the White House. And you know, it's not like it's exactly been a fair fight out there, you know what I'm saying? I mean, I get up every morning, Jeff, since I joined this campaign, I get up every morning, it's like I got to turn on the television with a stick. You know, I never know what's going to be on there, you know? I mean, it's like a lot of people in the national media have been out there doing half of Hillary Clinton's work for her every day. It's like it's been 2-on-1 out there, right? It's like the Gators had to go out there and play every game on the road, right? Against hometown teams and hometown refs. But just like with them, it's amazing. Donald Trump is still winning hearts and minds every single day. And we're going to win all the way to the White House. But I'll tell you that media slant was pretty evident about a week and a half ago. Remember all that coverage about how this race was all but over? Remember? I was watching some of those TV shows, and I mean, Hillary Clinton was naming cabinet officials, and it's like she was measuring curtains in the Oval Office, and then the American people showed up. And I don't think you in Florida were fooled for 1 second, and you all know this race is on. It is wheel to wheel. All across Florida, we're leading in national polls, and we're going to sprint to the finish and take the checkered flag when the polls close on Election Day. You know, Hillary Clinton may have the media, she may have the money, she may have the special interests on her side, but Donald Trump and I got a little something more powerful. We got a basket of the American people who are saying enough is enough. And we're going to make America great again. You know, it really is amazing. I think more people every day are coming to realize this election is not so much a choice between two people, it's a choice between two futures. Am I right? So let me tell you where I stand. I choose a stronger America. I choose a more prosperous America. I choose an America that cherishes and upholds the highest liberties enshrined in the Constitution of the United States. So I choose to stand with Donald Trump and every American who knows we can make America great again. Now, I really do believe that the American people have had enough. You know, we've had enough of the failed status quo in Washington, D.C., and we've had enough of the fast and loose ethics of the Clintons, haven't we? I mean, it's almost hard to keep up with. It's almost hard to keep up with if you think about it. So here, let me try and catch you up. So while she was Secretary of State in charge of all the foreign policy of the United States over here she had a private family foundation that was taking millions of dollars in contributions from foreign governments. Okay? I mean, we just found out a couple days ago, her campaign confirmed that she took $1 million for that foundation from Qatar and didn't properly reveal that to the State Department as she'd committed to. Now, in between those two things, she had this private server to apparently keep all of what was going on out of the public reach, I guess. And when it was found out that she had a private server when she was Secretary of State, she used high technology and hammers to try and get rid of all that stuff. You know, the truth of the matter is, a lot of us were frustrated last summer when the FBI found that they said they found that she had classified information on that private server, but they concluded that she was just extremely careless and decided not to proceed with anything. But as you all heard about a week ago, the FBI sent the congressman and Capitol Hill word that they'd come across new pertinent evidence, and the FBI has reopened the investigation into Hillary Clinton's private email server. Now, it's a very serious matter. We commend the FBI. We commend the FBI for keeping their word to the Congress and the American people. We do. Because here in America, no one is above the law. I'm confident that they'll handle the investigation in a timely and a professional manner. But as we wait for more information to come to light, let's talk about what we already know. Okay? The truth is a force of nature, and despite their best efforts to keep it out of the public hands, this information has been coming out. And we ought to talk about it with our neighbors and friends in the next 2 days. I mean, you start out with the fact that so there was a dozen companies that gave big contributions to the Clinton Foundation at the exact same time they were lobbying the State Department. And the lobbyists they were using were raising money for the Clinton campaign for president. We found out that even though she said it never happened, when that terrible, terrible earthquake happened in Haiti back in 2010, that aides to Secretary of State Clinton actually said that friends of the Clintons should be flagged for business to rebuild Haiti, and everybody else could just go to the website. Am I right? In fact, we just learned this morning from the New York Post that Hillary Clinton had her maid print out government emails and classified documents at her home in Washington, D.C. You know, the media is even calling it a circle of personal enrichment, where major contributions would be given to their foundation, then contracts with Bill Clinton in the millions of dollars for personal income. You know, let me just say, if only for their decades of self-dealing, the politics of personal enrichment, pay-to-play, and outright corruption, men and women of Florida, we just have to do everything we can to make sure that Hillary Clinton is never elected president of the United States of America. The American people are sick and tired of pay-to-play politics, and it's exactly the kind of politics that's going to come to an end the day that Donald Trump becomes president of the United States. Because Donald Trump's got a plan. Donald Trump's got a plan. It's a 5-part plan to fundamentally reform the revolving door between our various branches of government and the lobbying community in Washington, D.C. We're going to work with a newly re-elected Congress. We're going to work with your new congressman, Congressman Neil Dunn, who you're going to send to Washington, D.C. We're going to pass fundamental ethics reform, and we're going to drain the swamp. You know, the truth is that with all of that as a backdrop, the truth is that this election's about even a lot bigger things than their small ethics. And the time I have with you today before I wing off to North Carolina, then New Hampshire, then Minnesota. We need to talk about those big things, okay? And they have to do with our national security. They have to do with our prosperity. And they have to do with the Supreme Court of the United States of America, man. We got to talk about it. We got to talk about this stuff. First off, on national security. Despite traveling millions of miles as our Secretary of State, it's undeniable. The world is more dangerous today than the day that Hillary Clinton and Barack Obama took over our nation's foreign policy. Our allies are less secure. Our enemies are more emboldened. I mean, truth is, 7.5 years of the foreign policy, of the architect of which was Hillary Clinton, of leading from behind, of moving red lines, of feigning resets with Russia and paying ransom to terror-sponsoring states, is emblematic of a weak and feckless foreign leadership that has emboldened our adversaries around the world. Let me make you a promise. When Donald Trump is president of the United States, we won't be paying ransom to terrorist-sponsoring states. They'll be paying a price if they threaten to detain American citizens. But it was Hillary Clinton. It was Hillary Clinton who initiated that disastrous agreement with the radical mullahs in Iran. Congressman Miller, remember this. We worked shoulder to shoulder together when I was in the Congress. We passed on a bipartisan basis the most punitive sanctions on any country in history. Economic sanctions that isolated Iran. Here was the deal. They would never come off until Iran permanently abandoned their ambition to have a usable nuclear weapon. This administration managed to cut a deal. They not only got ransom, $150 billion, but all we got was a delay in the nuclear ambitions of the leading state sponsor of terrorism. It was Hillary Clinton who failed to negotiate what's called a status of forces agreement with the sovereign government of Iraq, so that when all the American forces had to come out of Iraq by the end of 2012, we created a vacuum in which the monstrous terrorist organization ISIS was able to overrun vast areas that the American soldier had won in Operation Iraqi Freedom. And make no mistake about it, by the end of 2008, through incredible sacrifice and courageous service, the American soldier won the peace and security of the people of Iraq in Operation Iraqi Freedom. They did it. In fact, I can already tell that there are men and women who wore the uniform in that conflict who are here. If you wore the uniform of the United States of America at any time, would you stand up or raise your hand and just let us thank you one more time. Thank you for your service. It's extraordinary also to think that it was Hillary Clinton and her State Department who left Americans in harm's way in Benghazi. And after 4 Americans fell, she told the families of the fallen that it was because of a filmmaker back here in the States. When she knew the night of the attack, September 11th, 2012, she emailed her daughter that it was a terrorist-style Al-Qaeda attack. When she was questioned about that because of the excellent work that Congress did, about the competing stories, the different version of the facts that she and other members of the administration peddled for days following the attack, she said words that just grieved my heart. She said, quote, of those 4 fallen Americans and why they fell, quote, what difference at this point does it make? Well, let me say, as the proud father of a United States Marine, anybody who said that, anybody who did that should be disqualified from ever serving as Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces of the United States of America. You do not leave Americans in harm's way and never send help, and after they fall, you do not say, what difference does it make? Why? We just cannot have 4 more years apologizing to our enemies and abandoning our friends. For America to be safe, for the world to be safe, America needs to be strong. And Donald Trump will lead on the world stage with American strength. We will rebuild our military. We will restore the arsenal of democracy. We will give our soldiers, sailors, airmen, Marines, and Coast Guard the resources they need to accomplish their mission. And we will hunt down and destroy ISIS at its source so it can no longer threaten our people or inspire violence in the homeland. You know, that's probably why more than 200 retired admirals and generals, including more than 20 Medal of Honor winners, have endorsed Donald Trump to be the next president of the United States. And before I leave our national security, let me also make you a promise. Donald Trump will stand by the men and women who have served, and we will reform the VA and restore world-class, real-time health care to those who have worn the uniform of the United States of America. I want to commend Jeff Miller for fighting the good fight for our veterans and for them getting the benefits that they earned in the uniform of the United States of America. But there's work to be done. Chairman, there's work to be done. And I want to promise all of you who serve that Donald Trump is passionate about doing it. So it's about security at home and about taking care of those that have looked after our security. But it's also about safety in our streets. You know, Karen and I arrived just not too long ago, a few days ago in Des Moines, Iowa, on the very day that 2 police officers were cut down in an ambush, 2 separate locations in Des Moines, Iowa. We went and placed flowers on the squad cars at makeshift memorials and prayed for them and for their families. We mourn with those who mourn. The truth is, this has been a very challenging time for men and women who serve in law enforcement in this country, hasn't it? I mean, it seems like every time tragedy happens when a police officer is performing their duties, many in the national media, and frankly, many on the liberal left in politics, are quick to use a broad brush to demean all the men and women who serve in law enforcement as a force for division. I mean, Hillary Clinton actually referred to institutional bias in law enforcement in the wake of one of these tragic events. Now, there's no question about it. When tragedy occurs, when a police officer is performing their duties, the public deserves full transparency and full answers. But let me say this demeaning of the courageous men and women in law enforcement has got to stop. Donald Trump and I don't see the men and women in law enforcement as a force for division. We see them as a force for good. They are the best of us, and they deserve the support of the rest of us. Would you mind showing these police officers who are here just how much we appreciate the sacrifices and the risks they take for our families each and every day? I'll promise you, as the Chief Law Enforcement Officer of the United States, President Donald Trump will support law enforcement at every level. We will make sure they have the resources and the tools to protect our families and go home safe to theirs, and we will restore law and order to every city and every community in this nation. You know, that's probably why more than 330,000 members of the Fraternal Order of Police have endorsed Donald Trump to be the next president of the United States. So it's about security at home, safety and security abroad and at home. But it's also about our prosperity. And men and women of Florida, I'll tell you what, you've got a great governor in Rick Scott. But Rick will tell you what we'll tell you up in the Hoosier State, and that is any progress that we made in the last 7.5 years has been in spite of what's come out of Washington, D.C., not because of it. It's true. And we're in the midst of the weakest economic recovery since the Great Depression. True story. 1 out of 5 American households have no one under the same roof with a job. That's heartbreaking when you think about it. 47 million Americans are living below the poverty line. 45 million Americans are taking food stamps. Hillary Clinton's plan? More of the same. Not the same, more of the same. More taxes, more regulation, more of the war on American energy, stifling jobs, and more Obamacare. You know, they tell us this economy is the best that we can do. You know, we just got to keep doing the same stuff over and over. Did you ever hear that definition of insanity? Keep doing the same thing over and over again, expect a different result. Well, you and I know here in Florida that this isn't the best that we can do. It's just the best they can do. And when Donald Trump becomes president of the United States of America, we're going to put common sense, conservative principles into practice, and we're going to get this economy moving again and get America back to work. Because Donald Trump's got a plan. Donald Trump's got a plan. Hillary Clinton wants to raise taxes by $1 trillion. Donald Trump and I are going to work with this newly re-elected majority in the House and Senate. You're going to send this good doctor to Washington, D.C., Neil Dunn, and you're going to re-elect Marco Rubio to the United States Senate from Florida. And the first 100 days, we're not going to raise taxes. We're going to cut taxes across the board for working families, small businesses, and family farms. We're going to get rid of death taxes once and for all, and we're going to lower business taxes in America so that companies here in Florida can compete and keep jobs here in Florida instead of seeing them go overseas. We're going to have a moratorium on new federal regulation, and we're going to repeal every single Obama executive order that's stifling jobs and growth in the American economy. Donald Trump becomes president of the United States, or shall I say negotiator-in-chief. We're going to have trade. Trade's going to mean jobs. But trade is once again going to mean American jobs first. So we're going to renegotiate NAFTA. We're going to get out of this Trans-Pacific deal, and we're going to hold our trading partners accountable for the promises that they make to the people of the most powerful economy on earth. And lastly, when Donald Trump becomes president of the United States, we're going We're going to hold them accountable for all the lies around the so-called Affordable Care Act. You remember when all that was sold? Jeff and I remember real well. Nancy Pelosi was Speaker of the House back then. She actually went to the floor of the Congress. You remember that, Jeff? Nancy Pelosi went to the floor. The day they passed Obamacare, and literally said, she said, "We have to pass this bill so we can find out what's in it." Well, we found out. We found out that everything they told us about it was a lie. Do you remember they said if you like your doctor, you can keep him? Not true. Remember they said if you like your health insurance, you can keep it? Not true. Remember they said the cost of health insurance would go down? Not true. I mean, in the last week or so, the Obama administration confirmed that average premiums across the country are going to go up 25% next year alone. 19% here in the great state of Florida. I just heard that President Obama is going to be in Orlando today. He's going to be in Orlando trying to sell again what nobody's buying. I mean, even former President Bill Clinton the other day said, costs are going up, coverage is going down, it's the craziest thing in the world. Did you hear about that? He did. Don't be fooled by Bill Clinton's newfound skepticism, though. Hillary Clinton put it well and clearly early this year. She said, quote, "Before they called it Obamacare, they called it Hillary Care. And Hillary's got a plan to fix it. And man, you talk about going from the frying pan to the fire. She wants to put am I right? She wants to put a single payer, government-run health insurance program right into the heart of this failing federal program. She really does. Not as a surprise, she gave one of those speeches we weren't supposed to read up in Canada. And she said she wanted to see a healthcare system in America just like Canada's. Well, they got socialized medicine in Canada. My favorite line, though, came from the president himself. He said it in Florida, but I don't know if he'll repeat it today. He actually compared Obamacare to the Samsung Galaxy 7 phones that spontaneously burst into flames. Did you hear about this? Okay, you did? Good. Sometimes people think I'm making it up. I'm not making it up. Here's what he said. The president said in Miami, it was a week ago, he said, quote, "When one of these smartphones has a few bugs, they don't pull it off the market, they upgrade it, they fix it. Unless it catches fire, then they pull it off the market." Well, what a coincidence, Mr. President, because that's exactly what we're going to do with Obamacare. We're going to pull it off the market so it stops burning up our wallets. I mean, the American people know we can do better with health care reform. So with this newly reelected Congress, you're sending Marco Rubio back, you're sending Neil Dunn to the House. We're going to repeal Obamacare lock, stock, and barrel. And we're going to replace it with health care reform that doesn't give us more government, it gives us more choices. We're going to allow the American people to purchase health insurance across state lines, the way you buy car insurance, the way you buy life insurance. We're going to harness the power of the American free market to drive down the cost of health care in this nation. That's the American way to meet our health care challenges in the 21st century. So it's about security at home and abroad. It's about prosperity. But lastly, and maybe most importantly, it's about the highest court in the land. I mean, men and women, we're going to elect a president who will be elected to serve a 4-year term. And whoever that president is, though, they'll set the course and direction of the Supreme Court for the next 40 years. I mean, with the passing of Justice Scalia, literally the balance of the court is on the ballot. But the next president could have as many as 2 or 3 or more appointments to the court. If you cherish the Constitution, if you cherish limited government, if you cherish the sanctity of life and the unborn, if you cherish the Second Amendment to the Constitution of the United States, then you better think long and hard about it. I mean, elect Hillary Clinton as president of the United States. You can count on more unelected judges using unaccountable power to take unconstitutional actions. I promise you. But you elect Donald Trump as president of the United States, and you will have men and women appointed to the Supreme Court and all of our federal courts who will faithfully uphold the Constitution of the United States of America and all the God-given liberties enshrined there in a manner consistent with the tradition of the late and great Justice Antonin Scalia. So for the sake of our Constitution, for the sake of the rule of law, for the sake of all the God-given liberties that are enshrined there, men and women of Florida, we must decide here and now that the next president to make appointments to the Supreme Court of the United States will be President Donald Trump. So listen, I want to leave you with a couple of challenges, but I just want to first say thank you. I mean, I know I'm not exactly the main event, so thank you for coming out. Thank you for supporting this cause and this team and this movement. It is inspiring to see you all here. It really is. And it's inspiring to see others here. Not only Congressman Miller and your future Congressman Neil Dunn, but would you just thank Janet Huckabee? This is a great family that has done so much. Would you mind standing, Janet? This is such a great family that have been such champions for this cause and champions for America. Thank you, Janet. But you know, we said yes. We said yes to this invitation for two reasons. Number one, I think this country's in a lot of trouble. And number two, I'm absolutely convinced that Donald Trump has the leadership and the vision to make America great again. But now's the time for us to do all we can do, all of us. I can tell you the Pences, we left a job that we love in the Hoosier State to take on this task, and we haven't looked back. And in the next 2 days, I want you all to do everything you can. Here's 3 things I want you to do. Number 1, vote. Bring a friend. Friends don't let friends vote alone. Okay. I mean, I know you got this Florida thing going. There's a little early voting some places. I don't know. Whatever works, whatever's right, whatever's under the law, you go do it. If you're out there on November 8th, pack a lunch. Be ready. Take the day and vote. When you think about the sacrifices that have been made to pass the right to vote down through all the generations of this nation, let's go exercise that franchise and make Donald Trump the next president of the United States. Go do it. Go vote. Go vote. That's number 1. Number 2, I want you to go tell somebody. You still got 2 days in this deal, right? However you reckon it. Go tell somebody. I mean, the truth of the matter is there's been this incredible, I started earlier, and it's obvious what the bias has been in much of the national media, but the way this movement is growing, I mean, we are tied or leading in battleground states all across America. We're leading in national polls all across America because the American people are talking to each other. We're laying out what this choice is. Over backyard fences at places of work and worship, the American people are talking to each other. And I want you to go tell somebody. I mean, what the choice is in this election. It's change versus the status quo. And the other side's whole platform is, if you like your status quo, you can keep it. Right? But let me tell you the way I see this election. And maybe as you go talk to folks, you can borrow this the way I borrowed it. I don't see it as even so much between left and right or between Republican and Democrat. I see this election the way Ronald Reagan described things in his time years ago. He said, this is a choice between up and down. It's a choice between whether we're going to continue to go down the hill of a weaker America in the world, a more stifled American economy under the crushing weight of Obamacare and higher taxes and bad trade deals, and America walking farther and farther away from our most cherished constitutional liberties, or whether we in Florida are going to stop, plant our feet, turn around, and march back up the hill to a stronger America at home and abroad, a more prosperous America for this generation and the next, and an America that stands without apology on the constitutional liberties that have made this nation great. That's the choice that we have. It's up and down. And when you go, I want you to go and speak to your neighbors and friends of every background. It's amazing for me to see the number of independents that have rallied to this cause because they're tired of gridlock in Washington, D.C. It's inspiring for me as I campaign to meet so many Democrats that are tired of liberal policies coming out of our nation's capital and tired of trade deals shipping jobs overseas. But I have a special word to each one of you that wear the Republican label like I do, and my running mate does. And that is that when you leave here today and you go tell somebody, I think the time has come for us to say to our Republican friends with one voice, it's time to come home. It's time to come home and elect Donald Trump as the next president of the United States. It's time to come home and re-elect Senator Marco Rubio to the United States Senate. It's time to come home and elect Dr. Neil Dunn to the United States House of Representatives. And it's time to come home to make sure that Hillary Clinton is never elected president of the United States. It's time to come home. So if you're taking notes, vote. Tell somebody, especially some of our closest friends. And lastly, I would just say to all of you, have faith. Have faith in the American people. And I truly believe as a student of American history that every time the American people have been presented with a clear choice for a future built on our highest ideals and aspirations, a clear choice for a stronger America, a more prosperous America built on economic freedom, and a clear choice to reaffirm our commitment to the ideals that have made this country great. The American people, throughout our history, have chosen a stronger America, a freer American economy, and an America that stands on our highest ideals every single time. So be confident and have faith in your neighbors and friends. And lastly, if you're of a mind to exercise that other kind of faith the next 2 days, bow the head, bend the knee. Be a good time on this Lord's Day to do that, wouldn't it? And I'm here campaigning for the ticket and the whole team. But on this one, I think Abraham Lincoln probably had it closer to right. He was asked one time if he thought God was on his side. President Lincoln said, I rather concern myself more with whether we're on God's side than that God is on our side. So just pray for our country. Pray for America. Because America matters. Far beyond our shores, this last best hope of earth matters. So pray for our country. And when you pray, if you're of a mind, pray with confidence. Because I would submit to you that those ancient words that the Pilgrims claimed, that Americans claimed throughout our history, in much more challenging times, are still true today. That if his people, who are called by his name, will humble themselves and pray, he'll do like he's always done in much more challenging days through the long and storied history of this nation. He'll hear from heaven, and he'll heal this land. This one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. So men and women of Florida, time's a-wasting. And Alabama, counting on you. Time's a-wasting. It's time to get to work. And if you go out and do all that you can over the next 2 days, I'll make you a promise. And the congressman will back me up. That man is ready. This team is ready. This movement is obviously ready. If you go out and make sure that Florida is ready, we will elect Donald Trump as the 45th president of the United States of America, and we will make America great again. Thank you very much. Let's go get it done, Florida. God bless you.